Hey folks, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to do the 2-inch lift kit installation for the Subaru Forester. And that is basically a 2-inch lift on the front and a 1.5-inch lift on the back. At least essentially that's what the rough country says. And I'm going to kind of get into some of that stuff in a later video. I'm going to kind of show you what basically I was hoping to accomplish or what I actually did accomplish. And I'll show you the tires that I used and stuff like that. You get a shot of it here, but we're just gonna go over the installation part of the video, and I'm gonna try to put, the tools that you need as we go about, the torque specs that each part's gonna need. So, and I'm sorry for this big mess. I've been working on another project, which I'll kind of highlight at the end, and then we'll kind of get into that other project later. But I will be doing a follow-up video to this one very shortly on some of the things I found out about for the Subaru, and what kind of articulation it has, ride quality, miles per gallon, all that kind of stuff with the new tires and the lift kit. But again, that'll be a later video. This is just the install video. Hey folks, so this is what we're installing tomorrow. This was by far the cheapest lift kit that you could do with struts, like the whole, like not using a puck is what I mean, but actually having the struts that were specifically made for the lift kit. And this is supposed to be a 2-inch on the front, which these are the front ones right here, and then this is the rear, so they're quick struts. So hopefully will be a pretty straightforward, simple installation. However, I'm also installing some of these parts from Rally Tech to try to compensate for some of the misalignment of the suspension parts. When you lift it, you generally kind of shift the rear tire forward. I don't think that necessarily happens to the front tire, it just depends, but these are supposed to compensate for an up to 2-inch lift. So I'll kind of try to dive a little bit more into that tomorrow, but it comes with all this hardware and then all of this hardware too. And I don't think that we're going to use all of this, but I think that these are for like subframe spacers. I think these are for the brake lines or something like that, and I'd have to look at these. I cannot remember. I looked at it before, but it has some instructions to it, I believe, but I need to kind of look at them again just to make sure that we're putting them in the same place. But these are an 09 to 18 Subaru Forester. So these are all American parts, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, the rough country struts are Chinese made, but like I said, I think the next step up from these was like $1,800 or $2,000, and these were $700 together. And then with that kit, it was, I think, another $250. So we're talking right around $950 or something for the whole lift kit. Hopefully that's all I'll need for the whole lift kit. Hey folks, so here we got the wheel off, and we're about to start taking stuff apart on the steering knuckle, and the strut, as you can see here, is the old one. So we're going to just undo these two nuts, unlink this, so this is loose, and it's probably like the ABS sensor, I'm going to guess, and then the sway bar disc, we'll take that apart as well. I might have to actually buy a sway bar, like an adjustable sway bar connector now. And we'll see, the sway bar link connector, I guess. And then the brake line we'll have to take apart. I'm hoping to take everything apart without taking the wheel spacer, rotor, and caliper all the way off. That depends if I have enough distance to push this thing down and get the strut out of that spot. If not, we will. I have had to take that apart before on some other vehicles that I've worked on and done stuff like this. So we'll see. Okay, folks, so these were 3/4. They might actually be 18 millimeters, but they're 3/4. I use the 3/4. For adjustment. Hey, folks, so before I go on, I want to show you, if you can see, this is an eccentric bolt. So it's going to go in one way and one way only. And it will not fit in, let's see here, it will not fit in the bottom of this either way. Let's see. Okay. It will not fit this way either. It will only fit this way, which is we put it in and we were like, hey, why is this so loose? Because we had the other one in there. And the other one is, where is the other one? There it is. So this one will go through, and it can go through either way. It doesn't matter because it's not. It is smooth all the way over. As you can see these two together. Let me see here. You know, you can see that it's bumped out. So we're going to have to put that in here, and then the smooth one or straight one, whatever you want to call it, is on the bottom. And I almost forgot, but there's just one washer over here, and it goes on the top. So don't, if you only have one washer after you disassemble it, that is correct. Don't be looking for the second one. And don't put it on the bottom, it goes on the top of the other side of the bolt. So it'll go right there. All right, folks, so we got everything back together. These require 115 pound-foot. You don't really need to hold this. That particular style of fastener or shoulder bolt has little things on it that dig into the metal, so that's pretty cool. This came on. This is a little wobbly. I might try to use some zip ties to get that a little more secure. This goes in there. We did have to kind of break through the paint on the threads there to get it to really go on there. Again, I did retighten the sway bar link. You didn't need to take that apart. And that was it. So it's basically these two things right here, that connector, this, and that is pretty much it. I didn't mess with the tie rod. And then we snugged these down, but we did not tighten them. You have to wait for the weight of the car to be on them, roll it kind of back and forth a little bit so it's settled, and then we'll hit those with 15 foot-pounds of torque when we're done. Hey folks, so this is the driver's side. We did the passenger side first. So remember, it actually is a super straightforward, easy operation. You're just taking out this right here, and I used some pliers this time, so it's a little slicker about that. This is your 12 millimeter piece right here. These are 3/4 inch or maybe 18 millimeter. These are about to pop out, and that is basically it. We also got two of those removed, and then this one over here is still hanging, so that's kind of good that it's hanging. That means this should be able to come out very easily. So we'll pick you up after that. Thank you, Subaru and Japanese automakers in general. This makes it so much easier. All you do is remove all the cargo gear in here, which isn't that big a deal. It's pretty easy. And then these things just go in there and snap in, and they come out for full access. You don't have to take off like half of the, inside panels. Basically, it's made to be serviced, which is what I really like about Japanese cars compared to my Fords that I used to work on. And not that they were terrible, but this is just so much easier. The bolts are right there, 14 millimeter. And over here, same thing, easily accessible, one bolt on each side to make this part of the job really, really easy. Okay, folks, well, we are on the driver's side still now, but on the rear end of it. So I already showed you where to take off the top of the struts, which was super easy. There's the bolt. We already got kind of started a little bit there. You can see we took the nut off, and we took the sway bar link off to try to make this easier. Because what we need to do is we need to take this part off up here, this part right here, and I think one of these sections under here, I think right here or over here, and we're going to put all these spacers, one over there, this one's going to go right there, and then this one is going to go on the top end of way up here. Okay, so we're going to move this whole piece along with this whole piece is going to go down, or really the body is going to go up, and then that compensates, because if we just extend this, then the geometry of this staying the same pushes the wheel forward too much. And as you can see, I don't know if you really can tell in the picture, but the wheel is already forward in the wheel well enough. By doing the lift, it's going to make it more forward unless we put these compensational pieces in there to straighten it out again. So I'll pick you up as we get a little bit further. We're trying to take out the spring first, or spring and strut first, and then we'll start taking apart the subframe to put all the spacers in. Okay, just an update on here. We have this thing, the strut and spring completely taken apart on the bottom and the top, and it's really not wanting to come out. So instead of trying to fight it, I think what we're gonna do is just go ahead and release the parts of the subframe that we're going to let sag down and put the spacers on. And then that way, it should sag far enough to make this a little bit easier to come out. Hey folks, so at this time, I'm just gonna point out that not having a lift and being over 50 really sucks. But I'm gonna show you what you need to replace. So we got these are the new ones. We got the old ones out. We disconnected the sway bar link. That's there, so we've disconnected the subframe right there. Okay, right here. And then up here, there's a couple bolts up here, and that's where this is gonna go. Right there is where that's gonna go. Right there is where another one of these is gonna go. And then honestly, there's one more bolt, or one more piece that we are not going to use. I think this was for a different application, and that's this piece. Looking on the internet and anywhere else I could find, this did not show up anywhere on mine. It showed up on a like 2019 and later on a different lift kit with somebody else, where there was another bracket back here somewhere, but that's not the case on this one. So I'm just going to ignore those for now. I will call Rally Tech just to see what they say. And so as you can see, this piece will go up here and we'll wedge in there, something like that. It's not exactly like that, but I'll have to get that squared away. And then this kind of goes up here, right about there. And then this piece right back here goes right there. So it'll look kind of like that. It's funny, I had everything disconnected and nothing was moving. So I was trying to wiggle stuff and it just wouldn't budge. And I was like, what else are we connected on? And then I realized I had everything on the jack, even though I had the jack stands out there, and I still had the floor jack on the differential. So obviously it wasn't moving. So that is I mistakenly figured out that that's sort of a good way to do it. Is you want to have that all squared away, that stuck up under the differential, and that way you can release the pressure as you go. And you really do have to, the rear shocks didn't come out nearly as easy as the front shocks. So they really took some, lowering of this whole system, plus, yanking down on the, the wheel mount to really get the shocks to release. And now it's probably going to be even kind of more crazy trying to get the slightly longer shocks, as you can see here. That's the distance right there that they're larger. If you look, that is all the way down. So it's not a huge deal. It's probably, what is that, like an inch, maybe an inch and a half. So the lift on the rear is only supposed to be about an inch and a half. But this is kind of primed to have it set up. I do have to get the shocks in there before I engage everything. And I'm probably going to leave the sway bar disconnected back here and see how it handles. I know better than to leave a front sway bar disconnected. I did that with my 4Runner, and there was a huge difference between the amount of roll when the sway bar was connected or disconnected. So we're definitely going to keep the sway bar connected up front. I'm probably going to get some new sway bar links there so I can extend it if necessary, which I think will be necessary. And then, I mean, it's down there. It's okay for now, I think, and it's not going to be terrible or anything like that. But I think it's probably not a bad idea to try to match them to your lift. So anyways, that's where I'm at. I'll update you as we get closer to the end and if I see anything that needs to be mentioned. So, and then the other thing is, I think the other thing is these things right here, I think this is some tension right here. So we're gonna take that off and then put these in there. So that's gonna rise that up a little bit and make that a little bit better right there. So it was hard to find good workers today. I have my 8-year-old daughter. She was in charge of putting the nuts on the bolt as I lined the shock up through here on the passenger side, and that's what I get. Not a big deal, just a little bit funny. As I went to look at what was done here, she had just put the nuts on backwards, so not a big deal. We'll switch them around. Okay, folks, this is sort of wrapping it up. I just wanted to let you know that you will have to probably wiggle this loose, this little piece right here, and it goes to way up there. There's 4 bolts, 2 here, 2 up there. And you kind of have to loosen that up to get to these 2 bolts on this, for this spacer right here, okay? The second and third spacer are the main spacers, which is right here. And so you can see how that's oriented. Then you have the brake line extender, and then you have the other subframe up there. So here's the other side. We have the support subframe connector there, or spacer there, and one of the main ones, and then one of the other main ones is way up there. Again, we have the brake line extender there. And again, this whole piece in the back, the whole suspension piece gets lowered by, basically that much you see. And that's to adjust to make sure that the wheel doesn't go too far inward. It still has a slight tendency to go forward, but it already had that slight tendency. But looking at this, it was like 32 across here, and it was like 16.5 to 17 going this way. So which means it has still a slight, bias towards the front. So I think without putting these subframes in, it was going to be way biased to the front, because these would be tied up against there. That is still the same length, so the whole thing would go like that. So we adjusted the whole thing so it would compensate for any difference that the shock makes. These shocks went in pretty well, so that was pretty cool. And I think we have everything attached. I've double and triple checked everything. Again, this is my daughter's car, so I want it to be, perfect when she rides it. Now, we didn't tighten these down yet. These ones right here and these over here, because they need to be, the car needs to be sitting on the ground and kind of roll back and forth. And so we can get a, so the car is settled on the suspension before you tighten those. And I think this is 22 foot-pounds in the front. I think is 15 foot-pounds. Very small amounts of torque on those particular, but these things are really small. I think these are 14, and the ones up front are 12 or 14 or something like that too. So they're all pretty small. Hey folks, just to wrap up this video. So I did call Rally Tech the next day, and they did say that those extra small spacers that I showed you, the little tiny ones that were not used, do go on the turbo model. There's an extra bracket back there, and I'll show you right here. And that is actually for models with the turbo. Mine is a naturally aspirated 2.5, so it does not have the turbo. So keep that in mind. If you have a turbo, you will use those. If you do not have a turbo, you won't use the small spacers. Anyway, this is how everything went together. As you saw, I pretty much finished it. I will have a review video out pretty shortly here. I appreciate you watching the video. Hit the like button if you found it useful or helpful. And if you want to see more videos, you can hit the subscribe button as well. I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye.